G'day, Shah here once again with Four Wheels on the Road. This week we're here to ask the question, can a tiny little unit like this have enough in terms of connectivity and functionality to become a part of your everyday use? Let's get Four Wheels on the road and find out. The unit itself comes with a really low profile magnetic mount, and as you can see here, I've got mine connected to my windshield. It's a really handy thing, and as you can see, the unit is really tiny, so I've got it basically sitting almost behind my mirror, so I barely even know it's there, which is just fantastic. So just checking in first up on a couple of the general things to do with the Garmin 66W. The dimensions are 5.6 centimeters by 4 centimeters by 2.1 centimeters, so it's a really small unit. The field of view with this particular unit is 180 degrees, and it has a 1440 pixel camera resolution. The display resolution that's on the back of the unit is 320 by 240 pixels. If you're driving, you can actually leave the screen on. So if you're somebody who likes to have the screen on and you want to make sure that it's recording, you can have the screen stay on, or you can set the screen to an auto timeout. When the camera is recording, you will have a red light on the back of the camera that's constantly on. But as I mentioned earlier, if you want to have the screen permanently on, you can do so. There's option to do that. So you've got plenty of versatility in terms of however you'd like to have the unit set up to let you know that it's actually recording. You can also choose as well to manually turn off the unit whenever you want to. It's a really simple thing to do. Now the unit itself takes a minimum of an 8 gig memory card and can scale up much further from there. Running through a couple of the really great features of this unit, it actually comes with a rechargeable lithium-ion battery. The battery life itself is only up to 30 minutes, so that is a bit of a downside, I guess, if you're looking for any kind of downside at all. But the really big upside to this unit is that you can actually plug it into USB and charge it as you are driving. If you have a setup like I have where you've got an internal battery or you've got spare USB ports in your vehicle, which a lot of people actually do, you can leave this unit constantly charging and constantly on. One of the unexpected uses that I actually ended up deciding that I really needed, and it ended up being the reason that I leave the unit on all the time, is, for example, when I'm going shopping and I want to leave the truck parked, I usually leave both of the cameras on just to make sure that I don't receive any dings or anything like that once the vehicle's parked when I'm shopping. So it's a really handy feature to actually have that. Now what you will notice as well with this unit is that it will switch on and off with the ignition of your vehicle, which is a handy little feature as well. The unit as well features a tool called incident detection, and what it does is footage is automatically saved before, during and after the detected event. So as you'll see here, there's been an incident or just a knock on the car or a knock on the camera. So what will happen is that recordings will be made before and after the incident, and that video footage will also be stamped with the date, time and location of the event. So that's a really handy tool to have. Another of the really fantastic features that I find myself using all the time is the voice activation and voice control. For example, you'll see here, okay Garmin, take travel apps. So what you can do here is do things like start a travel apps or take a photo of what you're seeing out your window or out your rear window. You would have seen with my unit here, I've got one set up at the front and one set up at the rear of the truck. And there's a host of other features that you can use as well with voice activation. Another of the options that you actually have with the unit as well is that you can select audio to record. It takes up a little extra space, but it may be something that's actually handy for you if there is an incident with your vehicle. One of the great features of the Garmin 66W is that you can actually daisy chain the cameras together. So you can have up to 4 cameras operating all at the same time. So if you wanted to have front, back and left and right side cameras operating on your vehicle, you can do, which is a fantastic addition and something that is a really great feature. The unit itself actually has GPS and Galileo as well. So as you can see here, there's a fair amount of information that lets you know what's going on. It lets you know exactly where you are. It lets you know exactly what your speed was. So if you need to have, for example, the time and the speed that you were traveling at the date of an incident, you've actually got that available sitting natively on your footage, which is really handy. What happens in terms of footage and saving of footage is that once the unit has filled up, you can actually set it to automatically delete footage. Now, in terms of your footage, saving your footage and transferring your footage, we'll take a look at that right now. There's a couple of different ways to transfer footage depending on what your preference is. As we've done previously on a couple of videos setting up our Garmin GPS units, you can set the 66W up through Garmin Express and Garmin Explore. If you'd like to take an in-depth look at how to set up a unit, I'll put a link up in the top right hand side of your screen for you. It will be in relation to the Garmin Overlander or the Garmin Tread Overland Edition, but the same basic setup principle and how to register your unit and set it up applies across all of the units. So what you can do once you've set up your units is transfer footage that way, or as you can see here, you can actually open the device as a disk on Windows and directly download your footage that way. The way that I mostly use is through my phone and checking in through the app, which we're going to take a look at right now. So this is the Garmin Drive app. As you can see here, connecting the cameras is actually really quite simple. As soon as the camera is detected, it comes straight up. So a couple of things to note from the beginning with the Garmin Drive app is you can take a photo or save a video immediately from the app itself. So you can override what the unit is actually doing, which is really handy. Or you can do what we're doing here, and that is looking at a live view. So if you, for example, don't have a reverse cam, it's really easy to connect straight up and use the unit as a reversing camera. And as we mentioned earlier, if you have a spare USB port, you can have the reversing camera on for the entirety of your journey while the vehicle's on. So as you can see here, in terms of file transfer, it's actually really quite simple and quite fast. All you need to do is just select the file that you actually want, select download, and it'll download to your phone in the case that we have right now. Then you can also select immediately if you'd like to delete the file from the unit itself. Alright, well, as I mentioned earlier, this is a unit that I really love, and it may seem outwardly like I am a really big Garmin fanboy, but before my affiliation with Garmin in terms of the GPS units, I've actually had this Garmin equipment for a couple of years now. I've had the Garmin 66W sitting in my truck now for 2 years, and it's been running non-stop for those 2 years, and both the cameras are still working absolutely perfectly. They don't overheat when left on 24/7, so look, they're great little units. As I mentioned many times here on the channel, I would not recommend any products that I have not put through their paces myself exhaustively. And with these particular cameras, I've really put them through the ringer over the last 2 years, and they've come out amazingly well and are still absolutely rocking. Fantastic thing. I can't live without it now. If something like a security camera like this has been something you've been thinking about, it's one that I could definitely recommend. What do you think of the unit? Let me know in the comments down below. Alright, well, that's it for this week, and we'll see you next time we get 4 wheels on the road.